I still remember the way the morning light used to spill across the oak floors of our home, warm and golden, like a promise that everything was exactly where it belonged. That house wasn't just walls and windows to me. It was my sanctuary, the place I poured my heart into for 15 years. Every cushion I chose, every flower I planted in the garden, every late night moment, I spent rocking our daughter to sleep in that nursery I painted myself. My name is Elena, and for the longest time, I believed I had built a beautiful life. My husband, Marcus, was the man I thought I'd grow old with. He worked in finance, always talking about securing our future. I believed him. I trusted him with everything. While I stayed home raising our little girl and managing our world, he handled the money, the investments, the big decisions. I never questioned it. Love doesn't keep score, right? But looking back now, the signs were there. Small cracks in the foundation I refused to see. The late nights that stretched longer. The phone calls he took in the garden, voice low. The way his mother and sister started visiting more often, their eyes scanning our home, like they were already measuring the curtains for themselves. One crisp autumn evening, I came home from picking up our daughter from school to find Marcus sitting at the kitchen island, his face pale. "We need to talk," he said. His voice was flat, almost clinical. He told me he wasn't happy anymore, that he had met someone else. Someone who understood his ambitions. I stood there, groceries still in my arms, feeling the world tilt beneath me. I begged him, I cried. I reminded him of every promise we made in that very house. But he just looked through me like I was already a memory. What I didn't know that day was that the worst was yet to come. Within weeks, the papers arrived. Divorce. And not just any divorce. They wanted the house, my home, the one I had loved into existence. Marcus's lawyer painted me as unstable, emotional, unfit. His mother and sister stood behind him, feeding lies about how I had isolated him from his family. They twisted every sacrifice I made into proof that I was the problem. I was shattered, broken in a way I didn't think was possible. How could the man I built a life with look me in the eyes and try to take the very roof from over our daughter's head? But the pain hadn't reached its deepest point yet. The nights that followed were the darkest of my life. I would lie awake in the bedroom that once felt like our safe haven, staring at the ceiling, replaying every happy memory until they turned into knives. Our daughter kept asking when Daddy was coming home. I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth, not yet. Marcus moved fast, too fast. He froze our joint accounts. He changed the passwords on everything. And then came the revelation that destroyed what little trust I had left. Through a friend who worked at the bank, I discovered the truth. The house wasn't just in both our names the way I thought. Over the years, Marcus had quietly transferred ownership documents, used our savings for investments that somehow only benefited him and his new partner. His mistress wasn't just a woman he met. She was a colleague. And together they had been siphoning money into offshore accounts while I was busy being the perfect wife. His family knew. They had all known. The same people who smiled at my dinner table, who accepted my hospitality, had helped him plan how to leave me with nothing. I remember sitting on the floor of the empty living room after they served the eviction notice, clutching my daughter's favorite teddy bear, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. "How could you do this to us?" I whispered into the silence as if the house itself could answer. Everything I had given, everything I had been, felt erased in a single stroke. The betrayal cut deeper than any heartbreak I had ever known. It wasn't just losing my husband. It was losing the belief that love and loyalty actually meant something. That family was sacred. That the man I chose would never weaponize my trust against me. Friends told me to fight, but I felt so small. So powerless. The legal fees were mounting. My savings were gone. I was watching my daughter's sense of security crumble right in front of me, and I didn't know how to stop it. But something inside me shifted one rainy night. As I watched the water streak down the windows of the only home my child had ever known, a quiet fire began to burn. I was done being the victim. I was done letting them rewrite my story. I started digging, quietly, methodically. Reached out to old contacts from my college days, people who understood finance better than I did. I gathered documents, old emails, financial records Marcus thought he had hidden. And slowly, painfully, the full picture emerged. Not only had he cheated me out of our home, but he and his mistress had been involved in shady investment schemes. The kind that could bring serious consequences if exposed. The pain was still there, raw and aching, but it no longer paralyzed me. It fueled me. I stopped crying myself to sleep and started planning. I transformed my sorrow into strategy. They thought they had won. The day they came to take possession of the house, Marcus and his new woman arrived with moving trucks and smug smiles. His mother even had the nerve to comment on how she would redecorate the family home. I stood on the porch with my daughter's hand in mine, watching them. But I wasn't defeated. I was ready. Through careful, legal channels and the help of a brilliant attorney who took my case pro bono after hearing my story, I had built an airtight case. The financial discrepancies, the hidden assets, the fraudulent transfers. It all came crashing down when the authorities received an anonymous but thoroughly documented tip. Marcus's world began to unravel. Investigations were opened. His company froze his accounts pending review. His mistress distanced herself quickly when she realized the fortune they had built. Lies was now in jeopardy. The same family that helped him betray me turned on him the moment the money stopped flowing. In the end, the court ruled in my favor on multiple counts. Not only did I keep the house, but I received a substantial settlement from the hidden assets and investments. The fortune they thought they had stolen from me and from our future came back, multiplied by the consequences of their own greed. I stood in my kitchen weeks later, sunlight once again dancing across those oak floors, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the naive peace of before, but the deeper, quieter kind that comes from knowing you survived the fire and came out stronger. Marcus lost everything he tried to take from me and more. His reputation, his freedom for a time, the respect of the daughter who now barely speaks his name. As for me, I kept the home that raised us. I planted new flowers in the garden. I watched my daughter laugh again. And I started a small foundation to help other women going through similar betrayals, because no one should have to fight this battle alone. They took my home, but in trying to destroy me, they awakened a strength I never knew I had. I didn't just survive. I reclaimed my life, and yes, I took their fortune. Not out of spite, but out of justice. If there's one thing this journey taught me, it's this. Never underestimate the power of a woman who has been pushed too far. The heart that loves deeply is the same heart that can rise with unshakable resolve. Betrayal breaks you open, but what you choose to fill that space with is what defines you. I chose strength. I chose my daughter. I chose myself. And in the end, I chose peace. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If you've ever been betrayed, know that your story isn't over. The best chapters are still waiting to be written by your own brave hands.